Well, I guess has been a little while since I've just actually just talked. Originally, I thought I'm gonna have to come up with some really good topic to to engage with whatever audience, but really, when I look at it, these kinds of live casts or whatever this is mostly for myself to look back at. I kind of see it as like a video diary of a sort. Um, but yeah, so the cardboard thing, I guess that's right there, um, is my current list of items for my bucket list of things I want to get done. Originally, I wrote it thinking I'm going to get it all done before the end of 2025. But that is a highly optimistic scenario, which is unlikely to happen. Um, I did recently get one of them done, which is get take scuba diving classes and get certified. So I spent the entirety of last week, every single evening, pretty much doing that. And this past weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Um, so now I'm certified, which is, I don't know, it's kind of scary thinking about it. So I'm actually going to get dinner with one of my diving instructors on Thursday. I'm going to ask him some questions on what to do next, like on whether I should get more advanced certification or I think there's some oxygen certification, or should I just do some recreational dives and see where we go from there? Um, Also, I got to figure out why my certification is not showing up. I don't know. I have to pay $59. I think it's $56, but I hear it's supposed to be free. So he's going to find out. Um, Work wise, everything I suppose is going decently well. My motivation um, to go in the office is like the commute's pretty bad. So, but I still try to make it in definitely when I can. Last week was pretty difficult since, logistically speaking, with scuba diving and I had jury duty on Wednesday. Things were just a mess, like my schedule, that is. This week, for those who, well, for me, if I'm watching myself in the future, uh, this is July 1st, 2025. So 4th of July is this Friday. Yeah, so last year I was actually, I believe this week I was in Indiana at that time. This year, I'm not. I had some crazy thought of going to Roswell, New Mexico for their UFO festival, but I forgot about it. And then by the time I remembered again, it's already now. So it's kind of too late for that. I'm not really sure what I'm doing for 4th of July. I'm sure I'll come up with something. I always do. Um, I try to keep life interesting. Besides scuba diving, I guess the previous weekend, so not 2 days ago, but before that, I went to ecstatic dance for the first time, which is something really. It's almost, it feels like church in a way, except less preachy and just a lot of physical movements and emotional sort of just expressing yourself. I'll probably go back. I'm kind of in a state where I could use more of that. So, especially since I feel like I could use some more physical movements in my life. I'm not really not really doing much physical exercise these days. Diving, I don't count that since that was, you're supposed to conserve energy, so you're not really moving, although it is exhausting by the end of it. Um, so, but pickleball, I sort of put that on hiatus for a while. I haven't done that in at least a month now. What else? So these days, aside from work and spending too much time on the computer, I would say, um, I have binge watched a few TV shows, I suppose. Made some art. Recently, I bought some more art supplies. I need to get back to that. I will get back to that. one of my other things on this bucket list that you can't really read is I do want to have art, like an art gallery. Preferably, I wrote in Marfa for some reason, probably because I like the town, and they have a art show there, or rather, a festival of a sort in October this year. I think they do it every year. I'm kind of interested in possibly going there, not necessarily getting my art in there, but at least attending that event. But on the bucket list is like, hey, like learn how to do more art, which probably means eventually I will want to take a class because I am not trained at all. I just randomly do things like kind of like what's right above my head, like just a random smattering of paint on that thing. So, which pleases me emotionally, but is not like great art, so to speak. My hair's been getting pretty long. I have not really cut it. I did get annoyed when I was diving since my mask kept getting flooded with water since hair would just get in it. So then the water would seep in. So I just took some scissors and like randomly cut like the front part. So that way, like it doesn't just do it. But other than that, I haven't gone to a professional place anywhere. So I don't know. I see how much further it grows out. I have never been comfortable actually getting a haircut, or rather a hairstyle that I liked. So I don't really, and I don't mind long hair as long as it doesn't get in the way of things. So um, I've started going to the Houston Public Library in downtown some more because I just check out books sometimes, like those books over there. Some of them got to return it. A few of them I got to return it by Thursday, um, July 3rd, because they're due, and I've already renewed it 3 times. So, in case you're wondering why it seems like, or asking myself why it seems like I can barely talk, um, I ate a pear, and I do think I have some kind of slight allergic reaction to eating apples and pears because every time I eat them, I just have this scratchy feeling here, and I feel like I can't really speak for a little bit of time, even though I like eating them. So that's a trade-off I'm making, I suppose. I'm still doing the radio show, SG2M Space, with Leonard Kramer, just about every Sunday when our schedules can make it. Oh gosh. So I would like to say that, overall, my life isn't terrible, I suppose. Still going to therapy, still going to my groups, still going to church occasionally. One other thing. I am going to start volunteering for this Houston Welcomes Refugees group. And I interview with them I had an orientation about 2 weeks ago, had an interview last week, and now I'm officially accepted. But there's another round of orientation that's going to happen in 2 weeks or so. I believe it's July 16th. Welcome team training at Westbury Baptist Church. So I'm going to go to that and see how that works. I'm pretty excited because you get to be part of a group that works with a refugee family, and you help them out, and you become friends. So that sounds pretty interesting, and I kind of miss actually helping out. I was going to say real people, but the point is, like, my job right now, I know I'm helping humanity, but it seems really divorced from like people's daily struggles, right? Because we're just thinking about the future, like landing on the moon again, building a lunar satellite constellation, the future of navigation on the moon, communications. But there's a lot of people here that's in need, and what can I do here, right? Because a while back, I did used to volunteer for an organization called like Vox Culture, where I work with refugees, with underprivileged people, and would help out plan events and talk to them. And so, but it's been a number of years. That organization unfortunately dissolved. So since then, I don't feel like I've really personally taken part in talking to people and understanding their experiences and seeing what I can do to help. So so this would be good. Good for whomever I'm helping, also good for myself because I feel like it's helping my like my develop my empathy and my soul, I suppose, or something like that. I mean, not everything that's worthwhile to do can be judged by money, of course. So the other thing, I suppose at work, I just find it interesting that there's most of my coworkers I feel like are either emotionally immature or emotionally extremely reserved. So I don't find myself being able to connect with many of them. They don't really open up to me, and I don't know if they open up to anyone. I mean, they probably do with their families or significant others or whatnot. But there's a few that I talk to. Today, there's this lady who's probably at least in her 50s or 60s, works in business development. I talked to her for a little while since we both like candles, and then she's just like immediately was like, "Hey, I'm just gonna ask you, like, are you like?" I think she asked me if I have kids, which I answered no, and then she was like, apologize and said like, "Oh, I'm nosy," and I was like, and I gave a short rundown of my little history, I suppose. Um, and then I don't know. It was interesting. She shared a few details about her, like one of her daughters, which was really insightful about how her daughter just broke up with, I guess now her ex boyfriend, because he really wants to have kids, and she really does not want to have kids. And even though they really love each other, she said like, "Hey, like this relationship can't continue because I don't want to be in a situation where like 5 years from now, when we have all this stuff together, we've spent so much time together, we decide to break up. Then what's the point of that? Might as well break up now. Like it's still painful, but less painful than if you extend this out, since fundamentally, we two are not compatible." And that is extremely mature. So yeah, I was like, wow, like is that something I'm capable of doing? Like, I think in some sense, like I used to be pretty bad at that. Like I would just stay in something even if it's terrible or not completely compatible, not compatible, because I didn't want to be just by myself. These days, yeah, I mean, I still struggle with loneliness, that's for sure. There's times when, especially when I'm actually trying to feel it instead of escaping to something. Um, I definitely feel like, yeah, there's a profound sense of that. But also, as my therapist has pointed out and others, a lot of those, I have to look at my own feelings and see that those are probably lies. Because I do have a lot of friends and social connections and things I enjoy doing. And so if I feel completely abandoned by everyone, that is me reliving my past, my childhood, when that was the case, when I really didn't have anyone. My parents were always working. They were either in school or working. And I felt completely ignored, and I wasn't part of any real social groups at school for many years. Um, so yeah, so that deep, profound sense of isolation and loneliness is very, very profound. Was very profound when I was a kid, and but my point is like, yeah, sure. I do miss the romantic and like sexual aspects, of course, of having a romantic relationship. But in terms of the absolute feeling of feeling like I'm completely rejected from the world, that is a fundamental lie. And for better or worse, I have to constantly remind myself of that because otherwise I could easily slide back into believing that lie because I'm just so used to that story. Um, On the aspect of, let's see, with my sister, no real updates there. I think I've already shared this before on like when about the trip that I took visiting my family. The dynamics she has with my parents is the same as like from 10 years ago. She's still yelling at them to bring her food and things. Um, I don't know. She's trying to figure out her life, and I'm not going to force my relationship with her when she doesn't want it. Or when she's not, you know, I don't know. From what I see, her dynamic with my parents is one where she uses them for money and practical things like having a place to live, having a car, then being able to pay her credit card bills. But she doesn't emotionally connect with them. And she also expects them to make her food. And my parents do it because, kid, like their kid, right? They're gonna bend over backwards for and she's the youngest one. So, um, but from her perspective, I don't know. I don't know if she must have like some real human emotional connections outside of the family. I would like to think so because it must be very lonely otherwise if you cannot express your inner heart with anyone. Um, I would certainly hope so. So for myself, funny, the same business development lady I was talking to today, when I told her like, hey, like a lot of these, coworkers here are, I don't know what they're like. They don't really emotionally share. And she was like, oh, well, that's the difference between men and women. I was like, no, 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 no. I mean, maybe, but for me, that's not true. Like, I try to be emotionally open and vulnerable, like with a lot of people. Anybody who seems to be actually capable of listening. So, like even this video right now, I feel like I'm just expressing myself to that extent. So, yeah, I think overall it's just like maybe it is like the analytical mindset and how you're brought up. Like in the STEM fields, like emotional intelligence is not really that well taught at all. It just has to depend on your family and your upbringing and what you go through in life. So, in a way, like I am very thankful about all the crap that, well, I've experienced. Since it really forces me to look at myself constantly because I don't want to be stuck in there. Like I don't want to be mired in my past. And so, as I was saying, therapy has been very helpful, among other things. But and I'm hopeful in like another few months, maybe we can conclude that chapter. Since I've processed a great deal of memories so far. So yeah. uh, without all that said, this weekend, I'm not quite sure what I'm looking forward to. Like I said, I don't really have anything lined up, but I always figure out something. If anything, I would go to ecstatic dance again on Sunday. I think I really like that, like I was saying. So Friday was July 4th. I think a lot of things are probably closed. So um, I do want to read some more. One of my other things on here is, oops, wow, I like, okay, right there is I think it was like finishing like writing a novel, which I need to get back to. So I think I'll probably go to a coffee shop for a few hours and work on my science fiction story, which has a bunch of poetry in there too. So original plan was to get it published in May, but obviously that was highly optimistic, and I wasn't extremely motivated to write. Like I'll write occasionally, but not to the consistency where I can produce like an actual book on time. So I'm going to get back to that. Also, I do have a tremendous backlog of books I need to finish. And that's something else I like really got to get to. Which is why, reducing media usage, like binge watching TV, for instance, or watching YouTube, would be very helpful. Also, yeah, like just overall, I think like having some sort of curtailment of my digital consumption would probably help a lot with my mental well-being and emotional well-being, since it will definitely put me more in touch with myself versus constant digital distractions, which by the way has a very constantly have a very short attention span. I've noticed that, like if I'm engaged in like watching like binge watching TV for a while, for instance, I just don't feel like reading, like because reading takes effort, whereas if I lay there and watch TV, it doesn't take nearly as much effort. um and yeah, so and considering I tell people that I love to read, which is true, I it's something it's not just that I tell people that, I tell myself that. So I need to get back to it. That's all I'm trying to say here. All right. So I think that's about it for now. Overall, the future is pretty bright. I'm looking forward to more scuba diving adventures. more ecstatic dancing, more reading, more writing. Uh, Still got to get back to coding my video game. That's been really in the background. And then obviously working on myself with therapy and other groups, um, spiritual development. What else? I mean, oh, also supposed to learn Russian. That's another thing on my backlog. I started and then I took a break, and now I think I need to start over. So kind of funny. One of my diving buddies, since when we took a class, you have to have buddies to, for safety reasons and to train. She's actually a Russian American, so and she actually is doing space architecture masters, and her partner works at like Axiom. So what a small world, right? So yeah, what's the chance of that? Just randomly meeting somebody else in the space industry at the same dive class. Well, it is Houston, so that's more likely than not if I'm somewhere else. But in any case, I think coincidences and new friendships always develop. Like old ones kind of fade away, and the new ones come. Like some people, they stick around for a while. Others is just for a season. Um, so I would like to hope that people I really care about and love, I will say, will come around, even if I'm not talking to them. There's a few of them right now that's not really currently engaged in any kind of conversation, any kind of communication with, but I hope eventually that we can reestablish contact. So, with all that said, things are good. I may not sound good, but overall things are good, good/great. So, my emotional state and mental state is far better than it was even half a year ago, I would say. So, I'm glad about that. So, whoopee doo. More exciting things ahead, that's for sure. All right, take care. Future self, or anybody watching, really.